Hello, beautiful people. It's your girl, Miss Ileane, and today we're talking about the right tools for online business. Now, this is episode 2. The first episode, I was joined by my co host, who should be arriving soon, and her name is Ray Ray. But in the meantime, let me tell you a little bit about myself. As I said, it's Ileane Smith, and I am someone who started blogging way back in 2009. And here comes my co host. And so I sent the invite over. So I started blogging back in 2009, and really, it all started with my day job, which I've been working at a technical book publisher since since 1983. I've been there for 39 years, guys. And so I've actually seen the development of I remember when we weren't even on the internet. So I've seen the company that I work for really grow and really make that transformation over to online business. But then also, I work with my daughter. My daughter is a very successful entrepreneur. Her name is Nicole Purvey, and her company is Better Than Success. And I've been formally working on her team for about the last 2 years as a consultant for her YouTube channel, but also, doing other little social media jobs and so forth as needed. So I do have some experience in this, and I just want to say welcome, welcome. I see my friend um, has also joined here, and that's Jennifer Navarrete, e-podcaster. Thank you so much for joining. So let's introduce our co-host for today, which is Ray Ray. Hello, Ray Ray. How are you? And tell everyone a little about yourself.
Hi, and I'm happy Sunday, Eileen. Sorry. I don't know why I get nervous when I say your name, but I am Ray Ray Brand. I am also a native New Yorker, and my background basically is graphics, designing, style, fashion, writing, a lot of different things. I was a former model. I pursued that, but basically, more of my skills are more creative skills. So I'm creative with clothing and graphics, content, videos. I'm very, very, very extremely creative. So most of the skills that I will speak about towards tools will be more on the creative end. And it's also, I'm dyslexic also. So you'll hear some skills that I have that can help people out that's in that realm, and some people in the creative realm. And I'm Ray Ray, and thank you.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Well, one thing that I saw you sharing on Twitter, and I believe you also shared it on Instagram, was that you got a chance to meet one of your online business mentors. Do you want to share that experience and how that all came about?
Which mentor?
Yeah, I was
Gary?
thinking Gary.
Oh, great. Gary. Oh my God. That's a long, I'll try to make a long story short because we don't have like 2 days. But in any event, I'm always inspired by people that have good energy. And I watch them when they're online, basically. So when I first laid eyes on Gary, he was on the Maria Folio show. So you know who Maria Folio is, right? So
Yeah.
he was on that show, and it was a YouTube show she was doing because I followed her from Oprah, and I just got so into it. It was a long time ago, and I still was freelancing. I basically, have all my life, worked for myself. So I saw Gary on that, and he was talking about the book in 2016, Jab, 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 Right Hook. And I said, I like that guy. I don't know what it was about him. He wasn't dressed up, he was casual and everything. And I just started following him. I started following him on YouTube. And this is before Wine Library was around, and that's how I got into Gary. And then every episode, because I don't have like a big salary and I love to go to big events, and I'm always learning different things each week. I try to always make sure that that is something in my practice every week for me. So I went to the event. I went to his first event was at the YMCA, and I became friends with him ever since. I don't know if he remembers me, but he always he always seems like he's relaxed with me. So when you see me on camera with Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, I'm always relaxed because he's just as creative as me. And I always say, I'm really proud of people like you, Gary, because it always gives rooms for people like me.
Awesome. Well, I was so happy when I saw you post and that you, I think it was the V Friends event, and at Macy's or something like that.
Yeah, it was at Macy's. And
Mhm.
why I wanted to go was because, see, I'm always inspired by people like that. And it makes me feel more relaxed with my creativity because, there's a lot of creative people, let's face it, online. The AIs, have made it easier for people to be more creative. YouTube has also. But I'm from the old school. I had to learn from paper and make it turn an object, like just make something. So when you go to FIT, what they do, like they'll take the first class I've ever had in computer stuff. They make you see the computer stuff and make you see the items. So I think my first one was an iPhone. We had to remake an iPhone from paper, then put it on computer and bring it to life. So you go through all these steps. So when I met Gary, when we was doing Macy's with V Friends, what was fascinating about Gary, because I watched him. I don't go, oh, like stroke his ego, watch him. I just watch him on the sidelines as a creative person, historical wise. And I saw him when COVID started, he was sketching. And his sketches really wasn't that good, I must say. And I'm telling you, everybody critiques sketching when you go to art school. That's just what you naturally will do it. You're going to always be a little biased towards art. And I didn't think he was that good of a sketcher, but he just kept sketching. He didn't care. He turned it into an NFT. He took the NFT and then he turned it into a toy. Then he had a doll. I mean, it's so many things. I even saw him lately. He took his NFTs, and I'm into designing hats. He took his NFT tokens and now he has them in patches that he's wearing on as a cap on his head. So him and his team is huge though. I have to tell you, his team is not a small team. I think his people is about 2,000. So when you see Gary, you see like 2,000 people helping him because what they do, and I noticed this about him, and I'm very skillful in watching him because a lot of people think they're talented, but they're not. It takes a long time, and what Gary does, he hires people. So like, if he's doing crypto, he's going to hire somebody that knows the crypto system scientifically, not the creative part, the scientific part. So when he hires all kind of people, there's science first, like they're data people first, and then the creative people.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I do want to say hello and welcome to DR Smart, who is here. And let's just quickly, really quickly recap some of what we talked about in the first episode. And then what you've just been saying will segue us into how I want to start off today. So, we talked about basics that everybody needs. And when you're going into online business, we talked about email, we talked about having a website or a storefront. And from there, we also talked about landing pages. And I mean, really, the time flew. That seems like a short list, but we broke them down. We talked about different tools that we've used and we've had experience with. And so today, I wanted to, even though we're talking about tools, I wanted to talk a little bit more on the soft skills that I think that online business as well as brick and mortar business owners need to have in their tool belt. And so just based off of what you were saying and some thoughts that I had right before we started up, was to talk about training and education and personal development skills. These are also essential tools. For example, you mentioned Gary's books. Now, I think that everybody should read at least one of Gary's books because he has kind of given us a blueprint, like even when you think about jab, 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 right hook, how you should constantly be giving value, giving value, giving value before you start selling things. And so I've read that book actually. I should say Audible read it to me. And in fact, a couple of his books, I think Crush It as well, Audible read to me. So developing your personal skills as far and also training and education. There's other ways that you can accomplish this: webinars and conferences, and also by having mentors. This has been something that's been so essential for me. And the thing about when you're online, you can really have mentors that don't even really know they're mentoring you, right? You can have someone. Now, for me, when I first started out, there was this amazing woman. There is this amazing woman that I met, and her name is Lisa Irby. At the time, a very popular website that she had was To Create a Website. I took one look at one of her YouTube videos. Like I said, this is back in 2009, and it was a Blogger versus WordPress. And even though I absorbed the information, because that's what I was trying to learn at the time, I also was in awe of her, how prolific she was. And I said to myself, one day I'm going to make a YouTube video. Now, that seems kind of silly for me to say now because I have hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube at this point. But it started with that mentoring. And what's really ironic about that story, similar to you and Gary Vee, is that eventually I did get a chance to be friendly with Lisa, met her. I didn't get a chance to meet her in person yet, but one day we will. But, and even she's left comments on my videos saying how I taught her. So it's really ironic. But my point is that having those mentors, having that educational and that personal development, and I mean, that could even be during your daily meditations or your yoga or whatever you do as far as physical activity. I just want to make sure, even though we're talking about tools, and we're mostly talking about digital tools, I want us to make sure that we capture those soft skills and those other tools that we need to have. And in terms of online business or business in general, and even just as being a content creator. So, what do you think about that, Ray Ray? Did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I think research is the main reason why I am very successful in my thoughts and how I feel about stuff because I don't mention stuff unless I know. And how do you know? You have to research and you have to study. So like it took me a while because I was basically more like a shy character to step into who I am, but I've always really studied a lot. So I watch people and how they study, and even Gary says for him to even get into NFTs, he said he had to study a lot. And he put a picture of him with his hair all crazy, and he said, "See, this is what it takes to learn how to do NFTs." Or, it's a lot. It's work, and you can't think of it as work. You have to think of it as something that's going to make you grow. I think learning is to grow. And the more you learn, the more you're going to grow to being the best you. And I think that's the only thing you could do as in having it as an online business tools. Because when people can, like what I try to do, learning, Ileane, is what I try to do all the time is, I try to always, be able to erase it and be able to put it back. Like I always try to do things like a puzzle, and that's just how my mind works. So, like, say I like to always get in like a little sticky bun and try to unfold the bun and how was the bun made and the procedures they have to go. I always do that so that this way, when I put it in my muscle memory, I know what I'm talking about. So no matter what I do, no matter what I design, I always design like that. I always, even if I make a product, I have to always remember, write it down, Ray, because somebody needs to learn the steps. And I think this is how you really get your tools together in your mind.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And I also want to welcome, we have a Barkalon Co-working has joined as well. Thanks so much for joining. All right, so now I do want to go back and into talking about some of the digital tools. Okay, but at any time we can, go back and forth. It doesn't matter. And so here, one of the predictions that I made for this year, although I must admit it was not a hard prediction to make, was that the AR and the AI tools were just going to really be there for us. And we were going to have even a hard time choosing which tools to use. And so we've seen it. I personally have seen it, and some of the tools that I have used and I think are kind of familiar are Jasper, and it used to be called Jarvis, and they shouldn't have used that name anyway, but it's Jasper, and that's good for blogs and books and articles. And what it does is you put in topics and it will generate content for you. So it's great for quickly creating content because if you have this website, you have this business and you have a website, or even if you're just using social media or some kind of a landing page and a storefront, you still need content. And sometimes it's not that you can't think of this content on your own. So Jarvis is not that smart. I'm sorry, Jasper is not that smart. It's just to get your wheels turning, just to put some content there for you to build upon and for you to add your expertise because we got to remember that it's not a person that's doing this or doing the research. It's just looking at the internet, pulling back some results. And usually, what'll happen is you'll say, okay, write a paragraph. And they'll say, well, how many versions do you want? And you might ask for 4 or 5 different versions. And if you look at them, they'll be very similar and they're just rewording the same thing over and over, but sometimes it gets it wrong. So you still have to add your own expertise to the mix. TubeBuddy is another tool that I use. I use it primarily for YouTube because Jasper, like I said, is good for blogs and books and articles, but not that good when it comes to YouTube. So, I mean, you can get started with Jasper if that's all you have, but TubeBuddy, because it's focused on YouTube and it has all that machine learning that it's done from what does well, specifically on YouTube. Now they're integrating their AI assistant and you can optimize your video titles and your descriptions and so forth with TubeBuddy. Now, Logi is a tool that I shared in a YouTube short that I made. Loki is a tool that's going to help you specifically with Amazon. If you're an Amazon influencer or you're making any kind of shoppable content on Amazon, this one focuses on product descriptions. And you can also generate video thumbnails inside of this tool, Logi. So when you have a specialized tool, that can really be helpful. Now, another tool that I'm going to mention, I know everybody's familiar with, and that's Canva. And of course, Canva can help you with designs and with templates. But reason why I included this is in the artificial intelligence is that now they even have a beta mode there where you can say, show me a picture of a woman standing in a field of corn, and it will use artificial intelligence to generate images for you. So Canva is even getting into the AI piece, even though, its primary function people think of as design tools. So what do you think about the AI and your experiences with it, if you've had any, Ray Ray?
Yeah, I use two AIs, but I don't use Jasper. I didn't like it for some reason. I don't know. I use it's called Quail. It's Quil bot is what I use for paragraphs, and I think it's better. To me it's better. Jasper, I don't know, it just seems like it was too narrow. I think that's what it is towards the paragraphs. And then I use Otter. I use those two for me for writing and finding out. I find Quill Bot is nice because they have different tones, so they could give you creativity tone. They could give you more formal explanations. They could give it short, and Jasper just didn't do it for me. So I always stick with things that can give me what I want quickly. And Jasper took too long to look for what I wanted. And it just, I don't know. It just, for me, you have to kind of feel out bots, I feel. And Canva I use, but I was trained with Adobe. That's what they train you in school on. And I still use Adobe Photoshop. I do like Adobe is much better than Canva. But when you're trying to do something quickly, I would say Canva would be the one for me. That's what I use every day. But like what I don't like about Canva is like if you wanted to do take just out the background and fill the background in with words around the face or something, you could do that in you could do that with Adobe, but you can't do that with Canva. Even though they are advanced, they're just not advanced in certain things. If you're really into graphics and art, it would be Adobe because they have more suitcases and you could try them. You know, what I always recommend for most people that are starting out, just try them for 7 days, and just make a habit of doing it like 10 minutes a day to play with it. See if you like whichever one. And I think that's the best way to do it because we all are at a different learning level.
Great, great feedback. And also, I do want to open up if anyone wants to come up and join this conversation, feel free to request to join. I do want to say, when we think about, you mentioned the background removal. Actually, there's so many tools that you can use now to remove backgrounds from images and even videos. And that's really all artificial intelligence. Like before, we literally had to go in there and just take out pixels, there would be like an eraser tool. But now, these tools, including Adobe Photoshop, there's one called Remove BG, or which is remove background. There's one called Unscreen. There's a bunch of tools, and a lot of them are free, where you just put your image or video in there, depending upon whatever the case may be, and it will detect what's in the foreground and what's in the background. And there's even a lot of mobile apps that are doing this, especially ones that work with Instagram and TikTok and all that, that do the same thing. So that artificial intelligence has so many different uses, and we're just happy that they use it for good, and to help us with creating content more quickly and more easily. And we just use the tool that we're most familiar with and that we feel most comfortable with. Like I've used Adobe Photoshop for years, and I only knew and learned enough, I say, to be dangerous because, I had a course in it years ago, but every time they would add on a new feature, a new feature, a new feature, I got lost. And so I knew how to go and change the text on a file, or resize something, or change the background color and things like that. But as it got to be bigger and bigger, and then I paid it less attention. And so when Canva came on the scene, first of all, I was like, Canva, that's nothing. I got Photoshop. I don't need Canva. But now Canva does everything, because one thing that Canva does that Photoshop hasn't really done is videos. You could create videos. You can record yourself on screen with doing a presentation, and it adds transitions, and just Canva is just becoming like the Swiss Army knife of content creation. They even have whiteboards, and then they have what's going to bring us into our segue into our next piece. They have those team collaboration and communication tools built in. So if you have Canva Pro, you can have your team. They have a feature called whiteboards. It depends upon what it is that you're doing with your team. And those, you can collaborate, you can leave comments, you can all be in there working at the same time and comment back and forth about fonts and colors or images. And so it's become, like I said, the Swiss Army knife. And it's going to give more opportunities that are just outside of basic designing, because it's also a scheduling tool. So, Adobe has some catching up to do in those specific areas. However, I do know I'm not taking anything away from Adobe, because they do have the developers that can develop any tool to rival Canva. It's just that Canva has decided that they want to spread their wings out there and be more of a tool for small business and for content creators than just a design tool for designers. So I also want to welcome Noor Al Muhammad. Thanks so much for joining. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Okay, so talking about collaboration and communication tools, this is something that you're definitely going to need as an online business owner. You will have to collaborate and communicate with your customers and your clients, as well as your staff. And we didn't actually talk about that yet, but I do have that on my list about hiring staff and freelancers. But let's just say you have a team, even if it's just a VA. What tools are you going to use to communicate? Now, it could be just as simple as you have email, or you can step up and use something like maybe a Slack, or an Asana, or Trello, which is more like a task management sort of a platform. Like, here's the list of tasks that you're supposed to do. When you're done with that task, it moves to the next person, or you move it off of your to-do list and you move it on to someone else's, but everybody can see all the movings and movings and goings on of the operation. And so I think it's really important to have something like that. I know at my day job, we use Microsoft Teams, which for years we never would rely on anything like that. Maybe some of the folks in our IT department were using that, but now everybody knows how to use Teams, and we all can use. There's another thing called Atlassian that we all can follow along with progress of different work items, and they use that whole Scrum thing where they're doing projects in a certain amount of time and all that. So these things can really help you to scale projects and keeping that communication there so that I don't have to say, okay, who should get this email? This person, and this person. No, it's all on the board or in a central area where everybody can see, okay, that task was assigned to Sarah, this task was assigned to Joseph, and okay, when Joseph finishes his piece, then Sarah can start working on her piece. And it's very helpful with keeping track and of also of knowing when it's your turn to do your tasks. So have you used any of the tools that I just mentioned, Ray?
No, because I have a small team. It's just me and my assistant. So and we just use basically I can't use that system because of the way the algorithm works with the passwords and stuff like that. See, I think when you with a bigger organization, they have like a one central password. And I think the IT people are controlling that for you guys. So I have to be able to control it by myself. So that's like a management tool. I don't have that. So me and Catherine is her name, my assistant, and she's in the Philippines, and usually we just do Google, we do some things in Google Docs. We just use Google and certain things. She uses Canva already. She does not do Adobe, but I'm training her. So I trained her how to do certain things, and I send her articles so she could stay update. And she's only like in her 20s, so she's pretty quick. Even though I'm older than that, I'm pretty savvy when it comes to speed. And that's the whole thing about me. My creative style is more about speed. And that's why always you see me in a hot pink Ferrari, because it's all about speed for me. I don't know if that's because I'm in New York City, but I always try to do things like, because I think things turn over, you should do things faster, to me, in my opinion. But I think it's great that you like the management tools and stuff like that. But no, not right now. That's not in my budget, but I hope in the future I will get one. I don't use it. And I probably would hire somebody to manage it, because I like to stay more or less in less administrative jobs and more creative. So, and that's just how I balance. But I wanted to mention one tool that you didn't mention, because a lot of people, with the you didn't mention any airbrushing tools, and I know you can airbrush in Adobe, you can't airbrush in Canva. And sometimes people need those in their photographs. If you're doing that and you're laying something out, some people have circles under their eyes, some babies have boogers, you just never know what you're going to come up. So I use Perfection to 365, and I'm probably going to give a training course on it shortly in the new year, so people can know how to airbrush their pictures without looking too dummy like, and putting on eyelashes even when you don't want to put on makeup. So that's one tool that I use. I use it all the time, because I like always making people look 100% fabulous. That's just one thing I always do. Some people don't like it because it makes them look too young, but I like it, so I use it all the time. How about you? Do you use that tool too?
No, I have never heard of Perfection 365, but thanks so much. And, one of the things that I really don't do that kind of work, but I could definitely see where that could come in handy. And sometimes when I do even my own selfies, I wish I had some airbrushing. And maybe I could do
Yes.
a
Yeah,
couple.
so I'm gonna try to, hone in on that because a lot of people forget airbrushing. I always do a free airbrushing. If you ever want me, anybody that's up here, if you want me to do one airbrushing for you, you could DM the picture and I'll be happy to do it for you. And just to do it, I do it so quickly because I love airbrushing. I just love making people look great all the time. So that's a part of my little idiosyncrasies that I do on my own. It's not something where you have to have the tool. Somebody showed me the tool and I went crazy with it, and then I kept doing it.
Oh, wow, that is so kind of you. Thanks for that offer. And anybody who's listening to this, make sure you take her up on that. No, but one tool that I did mention that I wanted to really um bring back. I don't know if you've ever heard anyone talking about Slack. And the reason why I wanted to bring that tool up, I used it years ago um, as an Anchor podcaster at one point when Anchor first decided that they were going to have podcasting. Then they decided that they needed a place to take support questions and where they could interact with the community. And so they used Slack. And I used it for a couple other similar tools. We're talking maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And so I never really thought that Slack was the right place for this. But I do know from hearing all of the stuff that's been going on with Twitter, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, is that they were using or still are using Slack because that's how some of the people realized that they were no longer employed by Twitter. It was because they couldn't get into Slack. And so that was, to me, that was such a surprise that they were using Slack because I would have thought they had some kind of back channel of Twitter. I don't know, it's just what I was thinking. But I guess Slack is a commonly used tool, especially among a lot of digital companies and I want to say social media companies as well use Slack, or they use a tool like Trello or Asana. And like I said, to track workflows as well as to communicate and collaborate on projects. So I just wanted to mention that. And in case the folks at Slack are listening, they get a shout out. All right. So I want to segue into now, since we were talking about social media, this is another thing that we should have in our toolkit. As an online business, we should be using SEO and social media. I'm going to combine those two together because a lot of times, how our potential clients or customers or community find us is one of those two ways. They're either on social media searching, or they're on a search engine searching. There's been a lot of talk about even TikTok becoming like a new search engine. For the younger generation, they don't search Google to find out how to do things anymore. They search on TikTok. That is not my wheelhouse, but it's we all need to know these things. We need to keep up with what everybody else is doing when a massive uh, especially if that is your target audience. And so you hear about the masses now using TikTok talk to search for things that maybe you may want to think about TikTok. But I would say typically for an online business, the first social site that comes to my mind is LinkedIn And I think that we should all have a presence or a profile at least established on LinkedIn. I know LinkedIn does rank highly in search. Um, it's the very first network, social network I actually ever joined. And it was just because one of my old classmates somehow reached out. I guess she found an email I had and reached out and said, "Hey, we're going to do a reunion, and so let's get on LinkedIn." And so that had to be either 2009 or 2008. That was before I even started blogging and things like that. So besides LinkedIn, there's the whole Meta family of apps, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, and so forth. Then there is Twitter. And a lot of people are using Twitter for business. They're using even these Twitter spaces, like the one we're in today, for business. And YouTube is another tool that people use for social and for SEO. Google also has another really um, cool and free tool called the Search Console that helps you track performance of your website. And then they also have Google Analytics. And they have another free tool called Google Trends, so you can know like what's trending if you're looking for something to write about, or if you're looking for a new product, or providing a product for your audience. And another tool that they do have some free features, but I think it's mostly a paid tool, and it's called SEM Rush or SEMrush. And so, yeah, which of these tools have you? And of course, we all know that you use Twitter, Ray Ray. But any of these other tools that you want to comment on or have any feedback about?
Well, I do. Yeah, thank you so much. You're doing such a great job, and thank you so much for having me as your co-host. Yeah, Ileane, I do. Basically, I do. Instagram, because I like the tool that Instagram have. You can use Instagram and Facebook at the same time. The thing I like Twitter, but the only thing I don't like Twitter, you can't feed into your other things easily. You just can't. You could do it on Instagram, but they don't have a tool like that on Twitter. And I heard that marketing, like towards marketing and doing free tools on Twitter, it would be the marketing. Twitter marketing is free, basically. Those are tips that I know. But yeah, those are, I don't really like social media is very competitive. So I just think whatever you think is good for you, you should use it. But I think you should never stop giving up one for the other. And I learned that from Gary, because a lot of people say you should stay with one thing. Sometimes, you have to do the 80-20 rule, and I think that's the best way to go on social media platforms.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's interesting. The 80-20 is the Pareto principle, and it's kind of like you get more out of 20% of what it is that you're doing. And I think some people get that a little confused, and maybe I even get a little confused. And one of the things that confuses me about the whole 80-20 rule is people are always saying, well, just focus on the 20. And I'm thinking, well, if it's a rule, it exists no matter what. So even if you just focus on what your current 20 is, 6 months from now, you're going to still be back to 80-20. It's going to be 80% out of that 20% that you were focused on. But anyway, I don't want to digress off into that.
Yeah, but I think you have to do a online stuff to me, and this is what I've learned since I follow Gary. You have to test a lot. Everything is testing. The colors, your voice, everything is testing, and you have to get into this mode of testing. because that's the only way you're going to find your audience and your real niche of what is best for you. I don't think there's one, like some people, they just remain like, I notice Gary, he doesn't really teach. He just says what he has to say, but he's teaching in his own style and he's giving it as free content. Some people charge for that, and I've heard him say that. Like some people feel that they say do the one thing that's trendy. That's not real. Your brain does not work like that, period. You cannot do one thing. Some people say niche down. Everybody has their tactic to make you follow them because it's testing. That's the only thing I can say. I don't think anybody is wrong or right, or you could write a book and it flops. You could do a lot of things and it flop. But the thing about it is a test to guide you. That's all.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I am constantly testing. And even with my content, as I've mentioned, I started off with blogging. And even though I love blogging and I think that everybody needs to have their own website and write articles somewhere, you know, but at the same time, I realized that for my skill set, which is mostly teaching and educating and doing tutorials and things like that, that video and YouTube is a is easier for me to create, and it's probably easier for a lot of people to consume. Now, some of my friends who I've been, friends with when I started blogging, they don't care about video. I could tweet about videos, and I know they'll never ever watch it because they're readers. Then, of course, I've spent a lot of time with podcasting as well. A lot of people, believe it or not, and I know we're social audio enthusiasts, right? But a lot of people don't care anything about podcasting. They won't listen to a podcast. They don't know how to. They don't want to learn. But we all have to find our own place where we feel comfortable, as well as where our audience feels comfortable with consuming our content. And we might say, well, yeah, I had 2,000 readers on a blog post, but may only have 500 watchers of a video. But for me, that's a fair trade off
Yeah,
because
I think you have to keep that balance, and I think it's beautiful that you go that way, but I also think you have to keep, like, there's people that are never going to do anything. Let's face it, they're not learners. People online that I find, they're learners, so they're always going to do something newer and better and bolder. So what I thing to do is to keep testing. And I think you're right, Ileane.
thank you, thank you. I'm glad we agree. And I see my friend Tristan is here. Feel free to, if you want to come up and speak, Tristan, go ahead and request. And also, I just want to make sure I say hi to DJ Scoob and there's one more person there. Daniel. Daniel, hello. How are you? Thank you so much for joining today. Okay, so the next set of tools that I want us to talk about have to do with booking and calendars. Now, these are important for those of us who are service providers. We want people to book consultations with us, or we want to set up coffee dates and things like that. But, and also for those who do any other kind of services like freelancing and things like that, there needs to be a way that people can easily book with you so you don't have to keep going back and forth and back and forth. Well, what time is good for you? I'm not sure. What day is good for you? So there's been a lot of tools that have come out that can help with this. So the one that most people know about is called Calendly, but we also got introduced to another tool that's very similar to Calendly that's called Day Slice. I actually like the look of Day Slice and the layout a little bit better, but Calendly is all depends upon what it is that you want people to book with you. And so Day Slice is more kind of like if you want a one-on-one consultation, you can book here. But a lot of online businesses that have startups, they may need to get new users in. A lot of times people have asked me to be a beta tester for their app or something like that. So they would send me a Calendly link. Of course, they're not going to schedule a one-on-one consultation. They just send me a Calendly link so they can onboard me onto whatever their app is and show me how to use it. And now there's another tool that's offered by the folks over at AppSumo, and I don't hear as many people talking about this, but I'm going to mention it, and it's called TidyCal. And the only reason why I'm mentioning it is because I know that a lot of people are familiar with AppSumo, and this is one of the tools that's actually um, from the folks at AppSumo. So I want to mention that one as well. So, how about you, Ray Ray? Has anyone ever sent you their Calendly link?
Yeah, absolutely. I do Linktree and I do the Google Calendar. I don't do all the other stuff. It gets too cumbersome for me, and I'm all about speed. Like I say, I stay with Google's because it's right on my phone. It's right on my computer, and I tend to do it. I do anything that's organized and is for speed. I'm very into speed. So just to be honest. Certain things I'm not, but that I am. With business, I like to do speed, not because of sloppiness. I just like a certain type of cohesiveness. So, like even when I work with the freelance, the virtual assistant, she can't do it. I'll just do it and have her to set it up because I'm all about speed. So it's very important to me.
Awesome, awesome. And so I'm glad you mentioned Google Calendar. I'm definitely want to have that on the list because one of the things that you can do with Google Calendar is also attached to it is and um, set up a meet a so that you can be on a video conference. I mean, of course, you don't have to come on video; it could just be audio with that person. So, and that's available. I believe that's available for everybody for free. Maybe you can only use it a certain amount of times. I'm not sure about the because I have the Google Suite. So yeah,
Yeah,
that
and I also think it's best to do Google because you get a telephone number. You can set yourself up like that too. So that's why I did it because being a female owner of a business is different than men, and maybe for men too, you don't want somebody tracking you. I don't give people my personal telephone number at all. Very rare. Everybody gets the Google number and it just taps right into my cell phone. I'm not giving my number, and it's the same thing. You have to have a PO box. You can't do business without certain tools.
absolutely. And real quick, I just wanted to say my friend Tristan says that he uses a tool that's called Book Like a Boss. So thanks so much for sharing that tool. I'd never heard of that one, but I know if you're using it, Tristan, it's got to be pretty awesome. So I'd like to now welcome and say hello to DJ Scoop. Is that how we pronounce that?
Yeah, that's right. DJ Scoob, that's me.
Okay. Would you like to contribute to any of our tools that for online business?
Actually, I want to talk to you about Calendly a little bit. I'm a huge fan of Calendly, not just because it's free, but I actually run a podcast, and on top of my podcast, I have two full-time jobs. So scheduling is really, really crucial for me to be able to schedule guests on my show and be able to schedule time for myself to be able to do my editing and things like that. I'm actually able to attach my Zoom to Calendly. So a Zoom link will go automatically to whoever I'm linking up with. And we just click in that and we're both on when the time comes around. It does all the conversions for me because I do interview people all over the world. I had, Pakistan the other day. I had somebody in the UK. So the thing is, when I was not using a scheduling app like I am now, getting the time zones down was just a massacre. It was horrible to try to figure out the time zones, and I still get it mixed up every once in a while. So to be able to have a type of scheduling tool that does that conversion for you is definitely a godsend. So I know there's other ones out there. I haven't really explored them too much, but Calendly right now is definitely the one I'm using.
Awesome, awesome. Now, can you tell us a little about your podcast? What podcast, what's your topic?
Oh, okay. Well, my podcast name is The Undiscovered Entrepreneur. I interview brand new entrepreneurs that are just getting started in their business and give them a chance to kind of advertise themselves out to the world at no cost. I get their struggles, I get their accomplishments, and then at the very end, I get their 6 month goals. And then in 6 months, I follow up with them to see if they've reached their goals and kind of take that hero's journey with them.
Awesome. I love the concept of that. And, it just opens up things for people who are, not notable. Like we've been talking about Gary Vee, and I mentioned my girl, Lisa Irby from Two Creative Website. But, there's room for us unknowns.
Well, exactly. See, when I was growing up and things like that, nobody ever gave me a chance to talk about myself or explore what I had to offer anybody because I wasn't a well-known person like Gary Vee or anybody like that. So I wanted to be able for other people that are just getting started, that are brand new, to be able to advertise themselves and not have to wait to become a millionaire to be able to get on a platform somewhere and advertise for themselves and talk.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. So now I want to say hi to Ariel, and we're about to close things down. But before we do that, I have one more topic of tools that I want us to talk about. And that is because now that a lot of the lockdowns are over, people are meeting in person again. Yay! So, some tools that I just want to mention are Eventbrite and Meetup, and a little bit more pricey, probably, and more customizable is a software that we use at my day job, which is Aventry. Aventry, Aventri. And I just say it's pricey because I know our stuff is super customizable. So if we're using it, it's probably pricey. So, uh, any experience, Ray, with Eventbrite or meetups? Have you ever gone to a meetup?
Yeah, I've been to a meetup way before COVID happened, but they weren't. You have to still test. It was not a good group. It was like I met them entrepreneurs at a bar. It was like in a certain midtown area in Manhattan. And I wasn't particularly fond of them because sometimes I'm not into social drinking all the time when you're doing business because I think it makes you a little too woozy, I should say. Or I don't know. And it's not like I don't drink. It's just that I prefer to do business first and drink later.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, so that was the only meetup group I had. I just meet up. Like I'm meeting one girl, Meredith. She lives not too far from me, and she's an actress. And I met her on Clubhouse. So we're gonna meet on our own. I just contact people and just meet them. To be honest.
Okay. Well, when my daughter was here, and I always talk about my daughter, so let's just get that out there. Nicole Purvey from Better Than Success. When she lived here in Philly, she lives in California now. And we were at the time, she and I were both really consistent with our podcasts. And so because we're in Philly, I went over to meetup.com and I said, I wonder if there's a meetup for Philly podcasters and there wasn't. So we started one. And at the time, she had a marketing agency. She does the real estate stuff now, but she segued over into that from the marketing because some of her clients were folks that were doing the real estate. And so, anyway, in the office where she used to rent space at, there, you could rent out, you had access to the bigger meeting rooms. And so we did this Philly podcast meetup. Oh, I miss it so much because, I made really great connections with people there. I'm still friends, and my podcasting buddies online that I met when we were hosting these meetups. We did it for about maybe 7 or 8 months. We had a Facebook group that would coincide with it so that we could not only spread the word on Meetup, because in case folks don't know, you can go over to meetup.com and search for your topic if you're trying to connect with people locally. And then, like I said, she moved, and neither one of us is consistent with our podcast right now. Well, her podcast is on YouTube. So, and here, my podcast is right here with you guys on Twitter Spaces. So, thank you. But
Yeah, absolutely. You just, I think it's great, that we all are just testing the waters because, we don't own these things. We don't own Twitter, and
right.
you just never know. You just keep going and testing. But I think it's beautiful that we always make an initiative to keep going, even though I find that I make a lot of mistakes, but I always say business is like that. Business to me sometimes it's like having oil on your hands trying to catch a ball. And it's really like that sometimes. So I think the more you just keep going, the more you'll find, like I said, the niche.
Awesome, awesome. And also, same thing with Eventbrite. A lot of people use that for digital as well as in-person events. And people can have free events there or paid, but then you as the host would pay for your account on Eventbrite, and it works similarly, and not as much niche as meetups. Usually meetups are kind of like the so and so's from such and such a place. Meetups are more geared toward a specific thing, whereas Eventbrite is anytime you just want to have an event about anything, then you would use Eventbrite. Meetup is more like you're doing a regularly scheduled kind of a meetup. But I guess you can use either tool for the same thing, but it's more of the experience of what I've seen on Eventbrite versus Meetup. And of course, you don't even have to use any of these tools as long as you have a venue that you can get access to at an affordable rate. If you're charging for admissions, or just depending upon the size of how many people you anticipate coming, whether you're going to include food or snacks or whatever with the for the attendees. This is something that helps build community and help support your community, and it could be the way to bring in new clients as well as really foster those relationships and nurture the relationships that you have with your existing clients. And so,
Yeah, Gary, oh, I'm sorry to cut
no,
you off.
go ahead.
Gary used Eventbrite for the Macy show. And I wanted to mention something else. If you guys are not marketing on what's the name of the discount platform? I forgot the name of the discount. And they give discounts, and they do a really good job at marketing. Let me look it up in my thing. But it's oh my God, I forgot, it's a coupon. What's the coupon? It's the coupon for the nails. I forgot the name. Groupon. If you want to do free marketing, Groupon is very, very, very good for it, and they do not charge. So just to let you guys know, so if you're promoting your book or you're promoting a podcast, you could do it that way, and that's a good way to market yourself. I know this girl; she told me that, and I always forget to tell people that's a good way to market yourself. It's called Groupon.
Okay, great. Thanks. That one's been around for quite some time. I haven't used it in ages, but thank you for the reminder. And so we're going to close things out today. We've talked about so many tools. We just want to really encourage you all to explore. And as Ray Ray has said, experiment with these tools, find out the ones that work for you best to serve your needs, to serve the needs of your clients and customers, as well as your peers, and so that you can network. And like I was talking about, your personal development and expanding your um, finding mentors and things like that. So these some of these tools can help with that. So I'm going to just ask for some closing remarks, or for you to just share your website, uh, and where people can connect with you. So we'll start with you, DJ Scoop.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. My website, uepodcast.net, not com net, and you could reach me. Twitter is basically my home, so you could reach me here at DJ Scoop 2021. Check me out on all the major platforms at Undiscovered Entrepreneur. And if anybody's looking to start a business, let me know because I also do coaching. Just want to throw that out there too.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And to my lovely co host, Ray Ray.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ileane. I finally got it right. Ileane.
Yes.
You probably say she must have practiced that one. Well, I think it's just because my head is screwed on like that. But thank you so much. I'm happy to be your co-host today and be into doing the tools together because we all need to learn and grow as we blossom in this world of business. I say. So I'm Ray Ray. You can meet me at Ray underscore brand on Twitter. If you're interested in any of my courses, I'm getting ready to start a course on airbrushing, your face with makeup, without makeup, from that. And then I'm doing a course on building your confidence, and that's going to be in January. And I'm also launching my book that's called Whoa That Hat. And I'm all about design and style and stuff like that. So thank you so much for stopping by and enjoying, learning something new and the tools. And thank you, Ileane, for always suggesting, because when you co-host, you have to always develop a style. So I'm happy to be on your style chart, Ileane.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. You're so very welcome. And for everyone, my name is Ileane, and that's Ileane. You can search Google and you'll find me on YouTube as Ileane Smith, and you'll find me on Amazon as Ileane Smith. You'll find my website, Ileane Smith. Here on Twitter, it's just Ileane. It's also Ileane on Instagram. So just type in Ileane and you'll find me. And I'm so glad you were able to join today. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. Feel free to leave comments if you're finding this on YouTube. And I so appreciate each and every one of you. So take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Stay
Stay
beautiful.
awesome.